I've been obsessed my entire life with success and how to get to the next level. And because of that, I've created some extraordinary opportunities for myself that have granted me with phenomenal godly powers. Okay, maybe not so genie in the lamp type, but I know how to get people to cash in on some of their wishes and turn them into reality. So where do you go to get podcast upgrade opportunities and a bunch of phenomenal cosmic powers for your life and your business? Well, you found the podcast in the rough, so let's dig in.
What's up, everyone? All right, I got some energy today. I'm coming in strong. You're probably like, whoa, Zeb, what are you doing coming in like this? Okay, I'm just excited because I want to ask you all a question about your podcast. What are you doing? Why are you not committing to this amazing outlet, to this amazing, I'm going to call it a hobby, but it could be a business. You could do that. I've helped people make money on podcasts. But what I want to ask you is, why is it that I'm part of this too? I'm not blaming you. Why do we get stuck at, hey, I want to do a podcast. I come up with a name. We take the photo shoot. We get the cover down and then we stop. Or like me, I've done this several times. You get all that together. You even build a promo. You start doing videos. You buy the website. You upload the website, the content. Everything looks amazing. It's published on Apple Podcast, on Spotify. And then weeks and months go by and you haven't picked up the microphone. You bought all the gear. You got the camera. You got the podcast corner built. You got your insulation, all this stuff, your soundproofing stuff. And you haven't sat down to do a podcast. You're talking about it. You're telling everybody, hey, I got this podcast. I'm launching this podcast. And you become those people that I've run into that is like, I'm writing a book. Really? Yeah. Over 15 years, I've been writing this book. I remember hearing people say that to me. And I was like, dude, I want to write a book, but I don't want to take 15 years to do it. So I sat down and said, I'm going to do a book. And I did a whole book, 179, I think it was 179,000 words, like 280 pages or something like that in 30 days. And I'm talking from start to finish, from start to publish, from opening my laptop and start typing it out, to editing it, to it showing up at my doorstep in a box with my first 50 copies that I bought so I can give out to people in 30 days. You got to want it. You got to be hungry for it. When I started my first podcast, I did not have these problems. I said, I want to do podcasting. Yeah, I procrastinated for a while, but that was just simply like, should I do one? And then I was like, no, I'm going to do it. And I did. I launched my podcast in one day. Like, I'm talking from this is the name, this is the cover art, took the photo, made the video, started, editing the website, bought the domain, put it together, published it on Apple Podcasts, waited for it to populate, right? I had to wait a week, but I already had the episode done. In fact, I had the episode done the first day. Second day, I did 2 more. Third day, I did another 2 more. And I hit it hard. And then I was like, hey, I got to have this on the go. And I sat down, I carved out some time, and I started podcasting. Season 1, boom, done. Everywhere I went, did a podcast every Friday. Then I was like, well, I should do it every day. So I tried to do it every day, and that was a little overwhelming. And then, right, season 2 hits. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I'm starting to change up. Now I'm starting to get guests on. I'm starting to get creative. Starting to dip into some Zoom calls, right? Starting to go out to meet people and do the podcast. Starting to invite people over to do the podcast. Now I'm starting to enhance like little ads in my podcast. Start to change my music. Start to get a theme. I start to form what this podcast is, because you're never going to start there, but you're going to just start. You can't get stuck behind the graphics, the names, the banners, how the website looks, how the audio quality sounds. I was doing it on my phone for season 1. And then I got a microphone and I shared the journey all the way up. Hey, I got this new microphone. I'm trying this one out. Oh, I found another microphone. Oh, this was $100. This one was $30. Let's compare the two. Oh, this one was $240. I'm like, oh, I'm going to use a shotgun mic. I'm going to insulate the room. How's it sound? People give me great feedback. I was sharing the journey and also just finding things that I'm passionate about to talk about. And maybe my, podcast at the beginning was very granola. I mean, like a lot of different topics and, attracting a lot of different people that, they're like, okay, I'm here for this. But then I started to niche down a little bit, but then I didn't like that. Yeah, I had a solid community of people, just diehard fans for this one topic, but that's not me. And then I'm like, oh, I hit some success in my career. I'm going to talk about it. And then, I'm strapped behind, just limitations, NDAs. I can't talk too much, but I want to share the journey. So I had to get creative. And then I experienced a little bit of burnout. But then I was like, season 3 is going to launch. And then season 3 launched 2 episodes in, and then I didn't have time for it. I didn't make the time for it. It's not that I didn't have time. I just didn't make the time for it because I was too busy giving other people my energy and not going back to what I really wanted to talk about. And I let people influence me to say, you should do a podcast like this because I was helping other people blow up their podcast, make all this money. I was like, well, it's working for them. Let's change the whole podcast. And that was a no-no. So I had to say, you know what? It's not about that. That's not mine. It might work for them. This might be their thing that I've done for them to help them big time. But let's bring it back to what works for me. And what is the secret to that? To me, it's about the passion of what you're talking about. And it's not trying to be this or trying to give someone this bit of information that you think it's going to be a hot topic in the market. No, to me, it's about meeting people. That's why you come to my podcast. So when I'm saying, I'm like, oh man, I'll talk about mics. I'm going to start talking about podcasting. And that's what I do. But now I've said, you know what? That's going to be part of this group. It's not going to be the whole podcast. It's going to be part of the group. And I changed the name for season 3. Season 3 had 2 names. Actually, 3. Started out season 3, continuation, the Zebulon Thomas podcast. And I was like, no, I got to niche down. That's when I had the little idea of like, I got to do what everyone else has done. I've made all these people all this money. I got to niche down and this is how it's successful. Then it was like, think like a strategist podcast. That was cool. But at the same time, I was like, I don't want to be a strategist on a podcast. So stop getting in your head, right? And just commit to doing something cool. Because then I was like, you know what? I went back and said, what is the podcast going to be about? It's not about competition. Podcasts are about sharing information that people want to listen to, not just giving them stuff to digest as far as like just throwing up all the ideas or book me, buy this, do this, go here. It's about geeking out over something or sharing a common interest or talking about a topic, whether it's a hot topic, a sore subject, whatever, but spreading awareness. It's opening up to a community and building the community so people can engage and feel a part of the conversation. And so I went back and said, what does my podcast need to be about? What do I really like? I love Aladdin, right? I love Disney movie Aladdin, right? And I did this one intro at the very beginning in the podcast, like season 1, and I just didn't know what to do with it, but it sounded cool. But I had this like Aladdin theme. I'm like, no, we're going to do this. The podcast in the rough. In the rough. I said with a roughed. The podcast in a rough, right? And if you go back to my earlier episodes, I actually say it. You found the podcast in a rough. This is the Zebulon Thomas podcast. Didn't know that I already had the name. There's nothing wrong with going with your name, but for me, I just kind of want to be, I don't want to be the center of attention. I just want to be the host, right? Of something. So I was like, the podcast in the rough, here it is. Then I was like, I did it. I did exactly what I said at the very beginning of this, what I'm talking about here in this group. I stopped. I built the logo, did the new theme, changed the website, got a new website, bought the domain. Bam. Been talking about it for a while. I haven't done much. Started this group. But it's okay because I got a lot of stuff going on to figure out what do I want this to be. But I can't get stuck behind that. I want to create the experience. I want you guys to listen to this and get inspired to launch your podcast. In fact, there was 5 people at the beginning that I helped launch their podcast, and they're just like, it was so much work. And I was so excited. I was like, this is why I create this group. And I was like, I'm going to create this group. I'm going to change my podcast. I'm going to do this stuff, and I'm going to invite them into the group. They're not in this group. They fell off, right? That's okay, but whatever, that's them, right? And what's crazy is they fell off with tremendous amount of help in the background, support by people around them, and even someone like me who has been doing this professionally for 2 years, helping people make ungodly amount of money, and also helping people spread awareness or just building up something that's a stream of income for them and their family, and it's nice, right? It's not a hobby. And they fell off. Why? Because they did it for the wrong reasons. You cannot go into this to be like, I'm going to do a podcast and be rich. I'm going to do a podcast and I'm going to make all this money. I'm going to look so big. I'm going to be able to talk about this and no. That'll come just like everything else will. I didn't get into videography because I was like, I want to be rich. No, I said, I want to do videos. I want to do something cool. I want to make a difference. I want to showcase my art. I want to be the best I could be as a videographer. And I'm going to be super creative with it, have fun. And I want this vehicle that I'm creating to take me somewhere in my life and places and go on an adventure. The money will come. Just like with podcasting, you go out there and go, let's create a solid podcast. What is the topic? Well, who do we want to attract? What's the community we want to build? What is this going to look like in 1 year, 2 years when I have like this great community? Are we going to be able to get together? Is it a small community? Maybe it's 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people. Can we get together and go to like a resort? Can we really engage in this community? Am I going to help people? Am I going to inspire people? And all the other things around this, money will come if you choose at some point to monetize it and stay true to your roots. But the whole reason why I have to jump on here is to shake you up and get you to think, why am I not podcasting? Why did I create the cover and the website and I'm not doing anything with it? Why? Maybe you're afraid. Maybe you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Maybe you're looking at someone else's top level and you're trying to start there. Now, I'm all about looking at someone who spent 5-10 years and I see their stuff and I'm like, I'm starting right there. If you're a go-getter and you're hungry like me, you might be able to do that. You might waste a lot of money. You might spend money that you don't need, right? Because remember, their setup was built over the years. Someone look at my setup, they're like, oh, I'm going to need all this. Well, not really, because I have a lot of things that I don't really need. I have really expensive microphones and all this soundproofing when really I'm standing right now here holding the Zoom Pod Track P4 and the Shure, what is this? The Shure M58 microphone. I'm not even sitting down at my podcast station with the really good mics and the Rodecaster. I just want to put this on and geek out and talk to you. And I just want something simple. So here I am just like walking around my room with this thing plugged into a battery bank. Like, let's go. Because I want to use this tool here and I just want to be like, hey, how cool is this if I just rip this walking around? Again, you don't need to start at my level. You might just need to start with a $30 mic, your iPhone, right? You might not even have to start with video. Remember, podcasting is mainly to listen to. It just recently people started doing video on it, and that's cool, but you don't have to do that. Maybe you have a face for radio, okay? I'd like to say you have a voice for radio, but you know what I'm saying? It's whatever you want it to be, but don't get stuck there. Don't overcomplicate this. And with that said, I want to share this because I'm probably going to throw this in some kind of a video to put it on audio, to put it on Facebook, because that's how we do it, right? Because I want you to see something. If I do, you'll see this. If not, just listen to me. I geek out over things. When I start anything that I'm really excited about, I go as far as like, you got the website, got the logo, but I go as far as going, hey, we need merch. And this isn't merch for me to sell out to other people. I get the merch because I want to represent it. I want everywhere I go when people see this. I want front of the shirt, the hoodie. I need hoodies. I need pants. I need hats. I need the front and back. I need embroidery. I need silk screening. I want it all. And I go in on that. Even at the beginning, when I didn't have it, I went in on that because you want to brand yourself. And that also commits. If you're solid on your name, you're solid on this podcast, and you're like, and I'm saying solid for like, okay, for the next year, I'm committed to this. The name might change in a year, but right now, solid year I'm going to put into this and see where it goes. I'm going to have fun doing it. And I'm going to commit to that. Get it on a shirt, get a hashtag, get it on a hoodie, and walk around with that and just tell everybody, go here, go here. You will grind, you will be hungry, and people will come. People will subscribe. People will tune in. People will listen. And just do something that you like, that you can do if you had to on a daily basis or a weekly. You don't want to create something where like, Friday's tomorrow, it's Thursday, I don't have a podcast yet. I got to sit down and do this. No, you should be like, Thursday's coming up. Mark off my calendar block it out for like an hour. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to have fun doing this. And you're inspired. Hey, I'm at the park sometimes and I'm like, pull out my phone and I'm like, this is good motivation. And I rip an audio and I just like talk about something. And I know that I made a little something special, or I might make a little note in my note on my phone. And I'll come home and I'll just talk about that note. And then I'll piece the podcast together. Maybe it's not a full, I sit down and talk. Maybe it's pieces going into that time. For me, motivation happens not when you're just sitting here and you're like, oh, this is good, I should talk about it. It can't be scripted. Sometimes that happens, and it's so powerful to hear the person when they're actually in that mode, that energy. When I'm at the park and I'm really inspired and I'm trying to push up that hill and I'm walking and I'm running or I'm whatever, I'm crawling, right? I'm trying. I'm going to talk about something that's in the moment. And I want that energy to come through on my podcast. That's going to get hit way harder than recording a note, coming home, and then rephrasing it and then talking about it really calm like this. Imagine if I was like, hey guys, Welcome to the podcast. I had this really motivational time today and I want to share it with you. So here's what it is. I think that you can't get stuck on just the cover art. You need to make your cover art, but then you're like, what drives you? And then what drives you is like, oh, how many people am I going to reach? I'm going to reach a lot of people. You don't relate to that. But if I'm at the park, I'm like, guys, you should do a cover like this. This is an idea. Or you know what? What if you were able to do a podcast and you reached 5 people in your community and those 5 people were able to start something new off your podcast? Maybe you inspired them to go out there and be that stay-at-home mom and do a podcast and start a streaming income for their kids or their family or to go on an extra vacation. Or you said something and a local business was like, I want to have you come in and talk to us. We want to showcase you, right? What if it turns into a business opportunity, right? So see that energy, you're like, whoa, I'm already into it. Where are we going next with this? How do we do that, right? And I also want to share a little secret with you right now. This is me. This is my energy. This is when I'm super happy, right? If you hang out with me, this is what you're going to get at random times throughout the day. This ADHD type of thing, this super energy, like, dude, you're too much, Zebulon, right? My friends know me, right? It gets crazy. This is only like a level 6, right? You want a level 10? We wild out. This is the energy I'm giving to you on this microphone. I might even be blowing out. It might be redlining, right? This is me, right? But it's not like there's a professional talking to me and all this stuff. The reason why I'm coming at you with this energy, it's not forced. I'm actually really excited to talk to you like this. Usually I'd come on and just be a little more reserved, right? To be like, hey guys, how you? A little more professional. I'm blowing that out the water. I'm just trying to be me, right? This energy is addictive, right? In so many ways. It might be overbearing for you. You might be somebody like, dude, you're too much right now. That's fine. I learned something though. I met a gentleman by the name of Steve Larson, right? And I won't even just promote whatever he was doing, but I'm just saying I was inside this like 30-day challenge group and this dude came on. I didn't know him then. I didn't know of him either. Dude came on and he was like, what's up? And he just came and he just really blew out my speakers on my laptop. I was like, dang. And at first I was shooken up. I'm like, dude, what's going on with this guy? So intense. This guy might need to take a break, chill out a little bit. He's stressed out or something, right? But he wasn't. And he would talk like, hey, we're going to be building this today. And he's like, are you going to do it? And then he would scream at the thing like, yes, you're going to do it. He'd just scream, right? And shake you up. I was like, whoa. But over time, I was like, I couldn't wait to see what craziness he was going to come for this whole challenge. And it was so motivating. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret about this, right? He did this motivation, right, in this whole group to get us to go. And it was just because you didn't know how he was going to react. But then it also woke you up. Like I'm sitting there and someone was like, hey, are you going to build your website? Let's just say that. Are you going to build your website? And the next line is, of course you are. We're going to do this today. And you're just sitting there sipping your coffee, chill, right? But if he's like, hey, you're going to build your website? And he's like, of course you are. Right? And I'm actually holding back a little bit because I don't want to blow out your speakers right now. Scream to his top of his lungs. And you spill your coffee and jump back. What the heck was that? Right? And now all of a sudden you're like, you're shaking a little bit like, okay. And then you're like, is he yelling at me? Like, whoa. You start taking it personal, but he don't know you. He's just talking in the group. It's a recording. And you're like, whoa. So when I met this guy about a year and a half later, I got to meet him. I was like, Steve Larson, oh my gosh, dude, I freaking love you in this challenge. Like, you're so awesome. And I met him and I'm thinking he's going to come at me with this energy, right? Like, whoa, what's up? Like, it was so chill and he was really nice and really collective and like really together. And I was like, hey, I have a question, man. Like, you were so animated in the group. Like, I like, what made you do that? And he was like, oh, he's like, dude, I was so in a rush to get stuff done. And someone was like, yo, can you be a part of this event? And can you host this and motivate people and just talk? And here's the things, you're so good at it. So he's like, it was part of my nature to do the things we were talking about. But I was so tired of telling people things and they weren't doing it. So I figured I'd go in there and create this character that's just really irate and just let it go. He's like, all of it was like intentional. He's like, that's not who I am. He's like, I just created something to see if people liked it. And I did it actually as a joke of the first 2 episodes because I was actually pumped and I just kind of went off and it became a thing and people loved it and it started giving me so much traction. So I just kept doing it in all areas of my business. I was like, whoa. He's like, but it is kind of me, but I'm really, I'm more of an introvert. I'm kind of chill. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's incredible. So, but hearing that to me, someone like me who has that energy that truly can get crazy like that, right? And have fun. I'm like afraid to do it. But I'm like, no, you can't. You can still do it and shake people up. It's okay. It's your audience. It's your community. So I wanted to shake you up. That's why when I came off at the very beginning, I'm like, whoa, let's wake it up. That's because I have energy. And I was sitting here working on a friend of mine's podcast website because we're doing something big. Yeah, we're doing something big. It's a tour. I'm excited. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff here. And I was like, hey, you need this, this, and this. I know how to do it. I got you covered. Why waste time? Nobody is hungry as me. That's what I say to myself. Yes, of course, you are probably very hungry, right? You probably eat out the house. No, so do I. No, you're probably really hungry in a different area. Maybe you are so hungry that you work out way more than me, right? I'm hungry in this area. This is my lane. And I'm like, let's go, right? You want to build your podcast, your lifestyle, your business, all your endeavors, everything you do in the flow of your life. That's how you stay happy. That's how you stay motivated. That's how you enjoy stuff. And when the shit gets hard, when things get rough, when you're like, oh man, and it starts to feel like it could be work, your passion kicks in and you push through because you know this. But if you're not in the right place, even just a fraction of this, it'll seem like work. It'll become work. It'll consume you. It'll depress you. It'll destroy you, right? So that's why I created this podcast group. This right here, this episode I don't even think I'm going to put it as an episode. It doesn't have a title name. This is just me talking to the group, just motivating you. And it's also because I was working on my friend's website here and I was like so motivated to talk about podcasting. I geeked out and then I was thinking about my friend Rebecca and she's got this podcast she's working on. And, we are all going through the same thing. I'm like, I got to talk about this. Like Rebecca and I have been talking about her podcast for a while. And it's not just me and her. She's been hearing it from other people. Rebecca, shout out to you. What's up? Your cover looks amazing. The name is awesome. Let's commit to that. Let's commit to it, right? And let's do an episode. I'm using this motivation. I want to talk about it. And hopefully, I want to share Rebecca's cover and everything she's doing in here because it's very inspiring to just me. And hopefully it inspires you and everybody else coming into this group, whether you're new, if you're coming in new. This is that creative process that is exciting. Listen, you're not me, right? You might not be able to do everything in a day. You got kids, you got family, you got life, you got commitments, you got other stuff. I do too. I have no excuses, right? I have a lot of commitments. Like I got brands, I got business, I got travels, I got kids, I got all types of commitments. I got to have my own time, right? Workout, fitness, gameplay. I still get it in. How hungry are you for it? But what I'm saying, don't stress it out. If it's natural, it'll happen smoothly right away. Maybe you need to take a little bit of time. I'm not going to lie. Switching from the Zebulon Thomas podcast to Think Like a Strategist, which didn't resonate with me, to the Podcast in the Rough. The Podcast in the Rough was a name I threw out amongst 30, 40 other different names. And I kept looking at it. I was trying to go over here, kept looking at it. And then I started doing these like who cares? But like I started going online and I type it into these websites that would tell you like what it ranks, right? How searchable is it? How relatable is it? Are people going to like this? Is it likable? So now you're thinking like AI and algorithm, like what does it think? I went with it. It's got a high response rate. But I was like, I haven't even really ripped. I'm not going to lie. I haven't ripped the first season reboot of season 3 yet. I'm at fall 2. So I can't get on anybody. I'm just using this to motivate all of us. I haven't done season 3 yet because I was like, I'm going to go full out talking about podcasting. And I realized that's not what I want to do. I want to do it in a group scenario like this where I could rip an episode and talk to you, but it's only for the group. That's the only intention, for us to geek out inside this group. Because we can't geek out on a podcast if I don't have you in my community. So it's only meant for the group. So I started to really just feel this out. So maybe you start to feel it out. The name is not going to change. I'm committed to that. It's just the topic in which I want to do. Plus, I'm going to let you in another secret here, okay? The reason I was stuck for a little bit is because I wanted to talk about podcasting, but at the same time, I wanted to interview people. And I didn't want to interview people about podcasting. Meaning like the people I would interview is only people that do podcasts. To me, that's not, I want to geek out on my own. I don't want to geek out with other podcasters doing podcast stuff because they have me beat by far. Some of these people have been doing it for a long time. Now I have a great success in podcasts, not with my own podcast per se, but with a lot of other entrepreneurs because they already had a different traction. I was able to just apply my strategies and methods and frameworks to it and boom, blew the lid off of it. Super successful. So I'm just saying, don't get stuck by that. Don't get stuck behind something that limits you. To me, I want to interview people. I want to travel with it. I want to do cool episodes. I don't want to be stuck under one thing. If you can find the niche and enjoy that niche, go with it. But if you're like me and you like really want to just kind of go everywhere with it and just it's your life, then do that. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much. Comment below what you thought of this and where are you stuck? Do a podcast now, even if it sounds like crap. Just do it, even if it's just with your phone. And then let me know. Let's hear it. Take care. Peace.